Hi, I'm Megan Price, and welcome to the NBA Carousel, a Sideline Sports Network production, proudly sponsored by Score No Score app, available for download on Apple and Google Play Store. There's also a demo on how to use the app on Sideline Sports YouTube channel. But let's jump right into the show. Even though the season just started, there's still tons to discuss. Welcome to the show, Will Vogel, who will be covering the Charlotte Hornets. Hi, Will.
Hi, Megan.
How are you? I can relate. It was a tough week for the Spurs. So let's talk about the Hornets.
Not what I expected. Very disappointing, actually.
And so over the past week, you guys played the Warriors, the Kings, and the Clippers. So let's start with the Warriors game. Now, that's a tough loss, but I do believe that that's a tough game for anybody in the league.
I would agree 100%. They played amazing. The good thing is Bridges had 32 points, and he's still putting up great numbers. And Hayward had a double-double, but like you said, it was a tough go-around against a good Warriors team. They got Wiggins, they got Curry, Jordan Poole's playing pretty darn good now. Draymond Green, they're the Warriors. They're a good team.
Indeed. And so you guys ended up losing 114-92 in that game, and then moved on to the Kings, which was a blowout, and very surprising, even though I have been talking about the Kings for about a season and a half, that I thought that they were moving and trending in an upward direction. That game was 140-110, and that was on Friday. What do you think happened?
Well, I was looking at the numbers before the show. They were 55% from the field, and they were 50% from the three-point range. So
their shooting was excellent.
Their shooting was excellent. And Ball had a double-double, and Hayward had 25 points. But I've looked at Ball's numbers. They've been great. But the problem is he's getting 3 to 4 fouls a game, and it's not good. It's the problem is I feel like he thinks he can steal the ball a lot, which he's a great defender, but you can't get into foul trouble that early. I think I saw one of the games this week. He had 3 fouls at halftime. I'm like, dude, you're halfway to fouling out, and we need you. So, sure, we got Terry, but, dude, we need you on the court to be a great presence. And I hope the team or the coaches say, hey, listen, we get it. We want you to get those steals, but you can't be so, not aggressive or, demanding, I want to get steals. And, so, compulsive about getting steals.
You brought up Rozier. We finally saw his return, which was somewhat lackluster. 9 points, 4 assists, and 1 rebound in that game. And he did play 31 minutes. So a pretty full game for him as far as minute-wise, but we didn't see a whole lot of point production out of him. Was that surprising?
That was, but he's coming off an injury, so I think his numbers will probably float around sooner or later, 15 points plus. He's a good player. He's coming off an injury, but I expect him still to play pretty darn well.
And then finally, you guys played, let me see here. You played the Clippers yesterday and lost 120-106. This was a home game for the Clippers. Do you think that affected the game?
It could have. Playing 3 straight games in California on the West Coast trip. West Coast trips are tough for real.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially 3 in basically a row in California. And the Clippers aren't even that good of a team, to be honest. I don't know how we lost that game. I thought we were going to win the Kings game, and I thought we were going to win the Clippers game. Ball had a good game. Bridges had a good game. Oubre had a good game, but they beat us at field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, free throw percentage, and rebounds. Guys, we can't let them do
and in that game, we actually saw Rozier had more points. He had 17 points, 8 rebounds. So, looking back to more his form. And coming up, you guys are going to be playing the Lakers tonight, and that will also be in LA. And then you will play the Grizzlies on Wednesday, the Knicks on Friday, and then finish out the week with the Warriors again. Yes. So let's talk about the Lakers first. What do you think your strategy has to be for that game? Because they're obviously having a little bit of turmoil within the locker room there. Some of their rotations look bad, so not really sure how to fit those players together. How do you guys take advantage of that?
I'm not frustrated. I think it's just frustrate Westbrook and cause turnovers against Westbrook. Westbrook's had turnover issues all year, and if Ball can stop being so impulsive about trying to get a steal and fouls Westbrook, then it'll play to Westbrook's advantage. But I think the Hornets will end up winning this game. I don't know if Anthony Davis is playing. I think he's questionable. I'm not
I think
sure.
you're right. Yes, I think you're right.
But I would not be surprised if we win this game. Will I say it's a blowout? No, but I think Hornets, if we can focus on maybe taking advantage of no Anthony Davis and get rebounds, we can win this game. And then the Grizzlies, that'll be an interesting game. They're a good team, so I think it'll be a close game. Knicks, they're good right now. That's a back and forth game. And then the Warriors, hopefully we learned from last time, what we can do better. But we'll see. I'm expecting maybe 1 or 2 wins. It's hard. Yeah, and it's hard, playing the Lakers but again, I think the toughest matchup this week is the Warriors.
Warriors, definitely. And is that that's Oubre's former team? Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So that's
hopefully
an interesting dynamic there.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So was there anything else that you wanted to touch on? What do you feel like is the best thing that you saw out of last week? Even though you guys didn't come up with the wins that you thought was there anything positive that you thought shined through on that?
Well, I just like that Bridges is finally getting recognition, because everyone used to think I brought this up last week. Everyone used to think, oh, he's just a dunker. He just dunks the ball. But he actually is a really good shooter. I think he's in top 15 in categories. He's a good lethal piece, and Ball just needs to stop being impulsive. Like I said, Hayward's playing actually up to his contract, which last year he played up to it until he got hurt, and then this year he's playing pretty well. And then I like how Oubre's coming off the bench and giving a spark off the bench. So overall, I think I still think we're going to be in the playoff hunt.
Awesome. All right, Will. Well, good luck on your games this week. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we'll see you back next week.
So you guys can find me here on Monday nights. You can find me on the Sip Off, hosted by Megan Price, and you can also find me on the Gauntlet sometimes, hosted by James Tatum.
Thanks so much, Will. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Jordan Long covering the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets tonight. Hi, Jordan.
Hi, Megan.
How are you?
I'm good. The Suns are on a winning streak, so that's nice to see.
Indeed. I know there were a few struggles over the last couple of weeks, but it seems like they've kind of gotten into their groove. Let's see. You guys played the Pelicans last Tuesday and came out victorious 112-100. Then you followed up with the Rockets and also won that game 123-111. And then finally had the Hawks on Saturday, which we all knew was going to be an interesting game. It was close, but you guys still came out victorious 121-117. Which game do you want to talk about?
Well, if you look at the Pelicans game, I watched that first half. It was just turnover after turnover, it seemed, for the Suns. 14 turnovers, and they were down 59-48, but then we came back in the second half, going up on a 64-41 is how we ended up winning that game in the second half. Although our three-pointing shooting was not very good in that game, but we made 9. They ended up making 13. So, like we've said this whole season, it feels like is the perimeter defense hasn't been there, but we got the win, and that's all that matters. I mean, Bridges had 22 points to lead the Suns. We don't see that very much from Mikal Bridges for 22. And Chris Paul did his thing, 14 points and 18 assists. And Booker and actually JaVale actually played pretty well, and we touched on why we got him because Ayton actually didn't play in this game, and he ended up with 18 points with Booker. What really made the difference, though, was points in the paint. Yeah, we couldn't shoot very well and on the outside, but going into the paint, we all know those should be easy baskets, and they made 50 points out of that.
Absolutely. And then sliding over to the Rockets, who are a very young team, very high energy, and they have a couple of young stars on there that have the ability to be really high shooters within their draft pick that they had, their first-round draft pick. And then also Christian Wood has the ability to have a lot of high shooting. Also, Porter Jr. had 20 points on that game also, but not excessive amount of points from you guys. So to me, that says that the defense stepped up. The highest score was KPJ, who had 20 points. You didn't see anybody really go off and have a 25-plus game. What was your impression from that game?
We actually finally shot better from the three-point line. We struggled there a lot. I mean, last game we had 9, and this game we had 14. So it's kind of nice to see them actually go out and shoot the 3 ball. But the defense still wasn't that great, still allowed 11. But if you're shooting 14 threes and you're making them, that's all the difference in the world. Plus, again, we played well in the paint. Plus, our bench actually stepped up and had 52 points. So that was nice to see bench points go up there because we all know it can't be all Chris Paul, can't be Devin Booker. You have to have the guys on the bench step up.
Something interesting I saw out of that game is we saw Jay Crowder have a bit of an off game, 3 points, 3 rebounds, but 27 minutes of play. So do you feel like this was just a off game for him? Was this a bad rotation?
It was just an off game. We've seen Crowder have the, 15 plus points. I'm not worried. You're going to have those off nights in the NBA. So this was just an off night. He'll be back. He'll be fine the next game. So I'm not worried about him.
And then following up, you had the ATL game, which was pretty close. It was a 4-point differential there. Collins got away with some of the points. He had 26 points. Trae Young. He's had 31 points. But you guys ended up being victorious. What do you think was the difference maker in that?
The defense in the fourth. I mean, we went down going into that fourth quarter. We were down 86-98. So, I mean, it's not a huge deficit. 12 is not that hard to come back from in the NBA, but the fact of the matter is we clamped down on defense. We didn't give them second chance points. And in that quarter, we ended up scoring 35 points. They had 19. And honestly, it was the 3 points again that actually helped us. 4 threes in that quarter. So if you look at that, I mean, yeah, we talked about Trae Young and Brandon Collins, but as a team, we clamped down on defense there.
Excuse me. And then so coming up today, you guys play the Kings. And as we were just mentioned with Will, they actually blew out the Hornets last week at 140-110. So what do you think is going to be a major factor in preventing that from happening with you guys?
We can't be overconfident. We are the better team. I mean, the Kings are up and rising team. We know that. So we just got to have confidence going into that game. We can't allow them to push the pace. We've seen too many times this year that teams like the Kings are going to push the pace. They're going to try to get easy baskets, especially transition baskets, and they're going to try to hit the three-pointer. So if we can limit the three-point shooting and actually play our game, we'll be fine.
Most definitely. And then Wednesday, you have the Trailblazers. Friday, you have the Grizzlies. And then you play the Rockets again on Sunday.
The Trailblazers is going to be interesting because we all know what they provide, especially with CJ McCollum and just Yusuf Nurkic. I mean, they're a playoff team. Maybe I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs this year, but they were last year, especially with Damian Lillard. So that's going to be a pretty tough matchup.
Most definitely. So you feel like that is going to be the toughest game of the week right there?
Well, it's either that or it's the Grizzlies because of Ja Morant, what he can do for the Memphis Grizzlies. He can go down, he can score, he can play defense. But I definitely see that the Trailblazers is the tougher matchup just because of CJ McCollum. Damian Lillard, you can have perfect defense. You can still make a basket. And obviously with Yusuf Nurkic down below, he can get the rebounds, put it back up. And we haven't played very well against big guys, so that's definitely a challenge.
Definitely. All right, well, let's go ahead and slide over to the Nuggets. Y'all had a very interesting week the last week as well. Let's see. You guys played you played the Grizzlies as well in a back-to-back, and the Grizzlies came up on top both times. And then you played the Rockets, and that was an extremely close game, 95-94, a bit of a low-scoring game. What do you think happened in that Rockets game?
We just kind of fell apart. We had a pretty nice lead. We were up 10, and we just found a way to fumble it. And honestly, you got to give credit to the Rockets defense, especially down when they came down to the end there. We actually had a chance to go up 4. We missed a 3, and thank goodness we have the best center in the league in Nikola Jokic just blocking it away. But also, Michael Porter Jr. only played about 7 minutes in that game. He left the game. I'm not sure exactly what they're reporting, but I heard first a thigh injury and then I heard back soreness, but he may not be playing the next few games just because of whatever injury he sustained. He basically went up for a layup and he just came down awkwardly and you could tell he was in pain. But honestly, we played pretty well in that game. We deserved to win and we got the win.
Right. And hasn't MPJ had back problems before? Wasn't that a problem in the playoffs last season? So maybe aggregate,
especially when that's all they're saying is it's a soreness. He's missed a few games here and there because of that back. As we all know, when he came into the NBA, he only played a couple of years with Memphis. So it's just, or Missouri, I should say, not Memphis. But the thing is we knew he was injury prone. We were just hoping that these issues wouldn't come up, and they have a little bit. But honestly, I think what I would do with Michael Porter Jr., I know this isn't a popular opinion, but when he's healthy, I'd put him on the bench just for a few games, get him, going that way. Because when he's in the starting lineup, we saw it last year. He was a great player last year, and this year, I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if it's because the defenders have gotten in his head or what, but he's not the same player.
Interesting. It might just be, I thoroughly believe that every athlete has a season where they have a slump. And a lot of times we call it the sophomore slump, but it doesn't always happen right that second season or sometimes it's that third season where they start struggling. So that might be happening. And I do think injuries also play a role in this as well. Coming up tonight, you guys play a very high-powered team. You play the Miami Heat. That's going to be a tough matchup. And then you have the Pacers on Wednesday, the Hawks the Hawks on Friday, and then the Trailblazers on Sunday. What game are you most concerned about here?
Honestly, if you look at it, it's Atlanta. What Trae Young can do with that team, and I think Collins is actually hurt, so it's going to be the Trae Young show. So you got to play defense on him. And if you look at the Nuggets too, it can't be all Nikola Jokic. You got to get Aaron Gordon going. You got to get Monte Morris going. It just cannot be Nikola Jokic. If it's just Nikola Jokic, that's a problem because of the fact that yes, Atlanta has Trae Young, but they also play a team basketball, so that's going to be a key too.
Absolutely. And I think that the Heat is going to be y'all's toughest game, in my opinion. I think that they are just, that offense is super high powered. There's a lot of energy going on over there. Two former players that were formerly in a slump within Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero appear to not be in the slump anymore. And they just kind of found their almost a perfect rotation over there. I think they're one of the most dangerous teams in the East. And I think that's going to be y'all's toughest matchup. So, And for you guys who are not at 100% right now, obviously with MPJ, we still haven't seen Murray, which, I mean, we're not going to see him until he's healthy. That's going to be an extremely tough matchup.
It really is, and that's why we need more production from Monte Morris, from Aaron Gordon. Of course, Jeff Green and JaMychal Green coming off the bench. We just need production.
Absolutely. So even though last week was not exactly what you probably would have expected win-wise, what do you think was the most positive thing that you take away from how they played in the last 3 games?
We didn't give up. We didn't give up in the Memphis game. Sure, we were down. We came back in that fourth quarter, almost won the game if Nikola would have hit it. And then, of course, Houston, we came back and won that game. So the fact of the matter is we're playing hard. I know it's early in the season, but we're not giving up. Some of these teams would give up in the fourth quarter when you have a big lead and you let it go. We're not. We're still playing. We're still saying, hey, Mike Malone's a good coach. So it's just the matter of just playing hard and keep going.
Absolutely. Well, good luck on your games this week on both those teams. And go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we will have you back next week.
Thanks, Megan. You can find me on Thursdays on the NFL Carousel, of course, here on Mondays, the Suns and doing the Denver Nuggets. You can also follow me on Twitter at SportsScoop1 and read my blog that I write Mondays through Fridays at sports-scoop.com.
Thanks, Jordan. We'll see you next week. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to the Spurs. We have Brian Snow covering them. Hi, Brian.
Good evening, old Queen of Hoop. How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I got a lot of exercise today.
Awesome.
Had a lot of fun with the dogs, but when my body crashed, I fell out.
It does happen. You got to rest when your body tells you to.
Yeah.
Speaking of rest, what is going on with our Spurs?
Well, I made a tease in the group chat that I would explain the one problem that's haunting the Spurs right now. In a sentence, they're not sharing the basketball. And I'll get back to the problem with that. There needs to be a player that has to step up and lead this young team. And I'm staring right square at DeJounte Murray. He has the ability to lead this team. What frightens me about the Spurs not sharing the basketball, go back to the last game against Oklahoma City. 94 points, less than 50% shooting, and you play down to a team that you're supposed to beat up because they have one of the worst records in the league. If you want to look at it that way, they're not playing up for their competition. They're not, in a sentence, playing Popovich Spurs basketball, period.
Indeed. We have, like you said, DeJounte we kind of paid him to be the leader of the team. That's the role that he's in. But you also have Keldon Johnson, who steps up in leadership roles as well. So maybe it is a struggle of deciding which person should be the actual leader of the team.
Yeah.
In reality, it's Pop. Pop is the leader of the team. So I can't imagine what their practices are like right now.
Pop's riding them hard. This is Greg Pop. This is one of the last of the old school coaches, save maybe Eric Spoelstra and Steve Kerr. Okay, Billy Donovan's getting that too with his Bulls, who are playing the Nets tonight, and I hope they crown the Nets tonight. But you want to look at players that not only have been paid but selected. I don't think that the right players have been selected yet by Pop to captain this team. You're looking at DeJounte Murray because he was one of the highest earners on the team, but you want to have those 1, 2, or 3 players that the Spurs have had in the past. Of course, I'm talking about Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, that can galvanize this team. They're going to take their lumps because they're a young team, but they have the talent to be galvanized and get back in the Western Conference race.
You know what I think I want to see out of them? And to add to that point right there is I want to see Thaddeus Young step up and be that person that we saw in Chicago. I want him to be more physical. I want him to get a few more minutes than what he's getting. Obviously, he's going to come off the bench. We have our starting lineup. But I want to see him get in and be physical like we saw in Chicago.
I want to bring up a few old Spurs. When you mentioned physical, Terry Cummings, who was with the Spurs for a couple of years in the late 80s. Everyone knows about Sean Elliott, what he's done. David Robinson and what he's done with the physicality. I think each week I'm going to bring up old Spurs players, to like try to inspire the fans. Think of how they played late 80s, early 90s when they played at the Hemisphere. Now, of course, they're at the AT&T Center. But Terry Cummings is the fellow I have in mind for what I want Thaddeus Young to be. You're that dog underneath. You are the person that is holding off everybody. Go get some rebounds. That's one of the biggest things that's missing for San Antonio right now.
I agree. And even though we've seen Pirtle step up a little bit too, we had one of our other guests comment that Avery Johnson is somebody that we might, a former Spur that we would like to see. Maybe Thaddeus Young play with that style. So coming up this week, you guys play the Kings on Wednesday, which are a team that are trending up at the moment. Then you double back and you play the Mavericks again, but you play at home in San Antonio on Friday, and then you play the Lakers on Sunday. So what game do you think is going to be the toughest game out of those three?
Sacramento. Sacramento is trending upward, and plus Sacramento is putting up a lot of points right now. And they're starting to figure things out on defense. If there's one game this week I'm not worried about, it's the Lakers. They're not playing up to their standards, Anthony Davis or no Anthony Davis. But if there is a team to worry about, it is Sacramento.
Completely agree. And our game against the Mavericks was really close. It was a couple of points as well. I think one of our hardest things that we're having at this moment is being able to finish a game. First, second, and third quarter, we're playing great. And then halfway through the fourth, it looks like we're giving up.
And I didn't want to say it aloud, but it looks like they fall when it comes to the money period. All right. Let's use let's use the legendary Brent Musburger's old words. When it comes to the money period, that's when you have to go get it. That's when you have to close things out. And in all 7 losses for San Antonio, they have been near or in the lead in the fourth quarter and didn't close it out.
Indeed. All right. Well, good luck on your games this week. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we will see you back next week.
Well, Snowman in the Morning is in your ear at 11 a.m. Eastern time every day. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube, and you can listen to us on the go via TuneIn or snowmaninthemorning.com. You can follow me on Twitter at bsnowmultimedia, and follow the show on all social media outlets. The ID you need is at official SIT Moore.
Thanks, Brian. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, dear. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Chris, Couch Coach Powell, covering the Clippers.
Hey,
Chris.
Megan, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Doing good.
Awesome. So you guys have had an interesting week this past week.
Yes. We haven't lost a game this month yet. That's
exciting.
Funny, when the calendar turned November, it was looking a little bleak. We were, pretty much 1-4, a rough start to the season. But we've Minnesota, thankfully to the Timberwolves and the Thunder, they've been our November cure at this point for our losing ways. But yeah,
right. I'm jealous. I wish we would have beat OKC, and that was a really close game, and we ended up losing. And then you guys actually beat the Clippers yesterday, or the Hornets yesterday. And this is a team that is actually making a lot of noise over in the East. They're looking like they're going to be a competitive and actually have a playoff seed. So to be able to come up on top on that game, what do you think you guys did in order to succeed?
And that was good. I think it was a good victory. You just look at the standpoint of, they were down by, I think it was 7 with like less than 7 minutes to go. They went on a 22-0 run. Like you said, Charlotte is a team that's like a version of the Eastern Conference team, and to get a win like that, definitely you just look at it as those type of wins that you can just grit out and win. Hey, when our back's against the wall, which primarily our backs will be against the wall this whole entire season. So these are the type of wins that you can look at and think to yourself, okay, we down in the trenches, we're down. Hey, remember when we played Charlotte and and was on the verge of losing. You can look at that standpoint and just look at those times when we have other opponents down the line, and you think to yourself, well, we pulled it off before, so let's do it again. Yep.
And I know it's definitely going to be an interesting season for you guys because you're going to have to learn who you are without Kawhi in the lineup this season. And looking like you guys are starting to figure that out. You do have a tough stretch over this next week. You got the Trailblazers tomorrow. Then you have Miami on Thursday. Timberwolves, which I think will be a fine game for you guys on Saturday. And then you finish up with the Bulls on Sunday. Which game do you think is going to be the toughest game out of those? Personally, I'm going to say the Heat, but the Bulls are an excellent team as well.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be Miami. Just look what they're doing, and then just look at them. They're even at this point, we think in November, their defense is in pretty much midseason form. So what they're doing, they're tough. They're a tough out. Especially, luckily we got them at home and we got this nice little home stand. But yeah, they're definitely going to be an interesting matchup. Think about like Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry. There's a bunch of just a bunch of dogs, a bunch of guys that just play physical basketball, that no frills. They just get the job done. Pretty much it's just a credit of Spo and Pat Riley. An extension of those, Pat Riley teams, especially those Knicks days, those physicality, even the Heat back in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Indeed.
This team kind of remind me of almost like a throwback of that. So they'll definitely be an interesting team. Definitely Chicago. Chicago is streaking. They're kind of a team that, people was, ringing up, they had a fresh start. People were thinking it was the last dance and, like it was, like it was 1996 all over again and what have you. And they kind of backslided with a couple losses to Philly. And and I'm curious, you look at, they're going to be a part of they're the first leg of the back-to-back Lakers situation. So we'll get them on the first leg. So I'm going on the assumption that we're probably going to see them and they're going to have fresh legs. They'll come out a little bit more energized than compared the next night against the Lakers. So I think that's going to be kind of an interesting matchup with them as well. But yeah, this is a very pivotal week. Like we talked about, I mean, we do got Minnesota on the schedule, so I will at least
a breather in there somewhere. But yeah, and Portland. And Portland can be interesting. So, we've seen them kind of come back into their form. They've had a really rough start, and they started winning a couple of ball games. So I don't know if they're going to be able to keep that same momentum. But what has been your favorite thing that you've seen over the last couple of weeks that in place of Kawhi, who do you think is shining right now that is, probably wouldn't have shined if Kawhi would have been on the lineup?
I think more so of anybody, I'm liking what I'm seeing in Luke Kennard this year. I think Luke Kennard he's been solid. He's averaging almost 12 points a game this season thus far. Even what he did yesterday, coming off the bench, had 18 points. So I look at those type of situations. I think he's somewhat of a guy. And we know how Luke was like so hot and cold last year. Like, as far especially he came up big in some of the games in the Western Conference Finals, and kind of now you kind of see that kind of in fruition. And then even like PG, I think PG is the guy now. He's averaging 27. He's, I know it's early, but even if the Clippers does become a little bit more successful, he was 27 points per game averaging. He might be in that MVP conversation. I give it to maybe about Christmas, first of the year, before I can kind of definitively give some MVP type of accolades to him. And he's another guy and think about it. Yesterday he passed a great mark, went over 14.5 thousand points, 4,500 rebounds, and 2,500 rebounds. So, and he runs into elite company. He's the seventh active player to reach those three heights. You think about LeBron, Melo, Chris Paul, KD, Russ, and James Harden, which all of them will be on their way to Springfield. So I'm going on the assumption that Paul George is on his way to Springfield as well for the Hall of Fame. So that's a great accomplishment for him. He's another guy that people, for some odd reason, they just sleep on him and they just say, oh, he's overrated. Oh, he had that 1.5 good year in Indy. And, I'm just like, no, this man's been putting work. Like he's, he's not just your overall.
I definitely want to say, like, last season, what he did in the playoffs after losing Kawhi, and then what I've seen so far, which, I mean, I know we're only like 2.5 weeks in or 3 weeks in, but, I definitely think that he has, quieted the haters. I think he's definitely showing how good he is. And he's definitely not only an excellent shooter, but he can play defense too. So a big plus in my book. I love it when guys play both sides of the ball. Yeah,
absolutely. And like you said, and Eagle silence his haters, and he's been solid. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, most definitely. Well, good luck on your games this week. All Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and they can follow you. And we will see you back next week.
Absolutely. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Couch Coach Live.
Thanks so much, Chris.
All right, catch you next week.
Yes. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Jay Nelson covering the Houston Rockets.
Yo, what's going on? What's up?
How are you doing?
Doing all right, doing good. Just being patient with my boys.
Definitely. It's I heard somebody say it, and that it's a retool, because I don't think you guys are just absolutely rebuilding. It's Silas's second year, so it's going to take some time to see exactly what rotations work the best for you against each individual team. But first, I want to shout out that hat. I think it's super fresh.
I appreciate it. I had it for a minute, you know what I'm saying? But I think I've been on the slip off a couple times with it and everything. But but yeah, the throwback action going on. So,
what do you think about you guys' city jerseys?
They're dope. And honestly, I looked at the vast majority of them, and I think all of them were pretty fresh. You know what I mean? Like the ones, there were some that went back to the 90s. You know what I mean? The one for you guys reminded me of the Flint Tropics. Those are pretty dope.
They do look like the Flint Tropics. I like them.
I like those. So yeah, you definitely got to cop one of them. But yeah, I'm gonna get one of the. I was sitting here thinking the other night about which jersey I was gonna get. So I know I'm gonna get a Jalen Green, and then with the city jersey, I'll probably get like Christian Wood or something like that. But yeah, the city jerseys, yeah, they're definitely hot. Going back to the mid 90s and everything. So maybe that's the switch up that we need.
So I know you guys had a rough week. You played the Lakers on Tuesday, and that was a really close game. It was 117 to 119. And then you followed up and played the Suns, and that was 123 to 111. And then almost beat the Nuggets. What do you think happened on Saturday? That was 94 to 95.
You know what? And I was thinking about this all weekend too. And it's like, you know what? What if I told you that the Rockets may be in way better shape than folks think? Because you got to think, we just had a rough slate. And 2 of those games we could have won. In fact, I'll go as far as saying should have won.
Definitely.
The issue is and it was the same thing for like 4 straight games. The Rockets somebody was talking about 2 segments ago. It's about finishing. I think the Spurs had the same issue. It's about closing that door, finishing games. Because we'll have the lead at the half, and then we'll go into the fourth quarter, and then it's like we'll run out of steam, And then we'll lose because like the Lakers game, like it literally came down to the last shot. Like dude spotted up and missed, and it was over. Denver game, Joker, reigning MVP, made the saving block. It is what it is. But at the same time, it's like, you win the pros, you got to finish those games. But they're way better than I thought. And even the Suns game the other night, like we hung with them, and they only pulled away in like the last 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? The one against the Warriors was that was kind of back and forth. Like Warriors would go up like 10, and then Houston make their way back and everything. And it was like that for the majority of the game, and then the Warriors just finally pulled away. That actually had been Houston's problem in the last 5 years. Like even now, it's just like you got to learn how to finish games against the big guys. We'll go up against the, like we were contenders, some years back. But we would hang with them, and then we get to the fourth quarter and then run out of fuel, you know.
Right.
And mind you, like, okay, the Lakers game, Wood had a double-double, so that's Wood doing Wood things. Okay, you know what I mean? Jalen Green had 24. He was 5 of 10 from 3. You know, Tate was 2 of 4 from three-point range. He had 20. You know, Kmart had 14 off the bench. So you got these guys producing and everything. Right. Then you got a Lakers team who they don't know who they want to fight, the other team or themselves.
Right,
and and it's like you got to shut that door. Then the Denver game, the crazy part is the Denver game is Green was actually held in check to the tune of 9 points. He was 0-5 from 3. You know, Wood had a double-double. And he's a rookie. He was going to do, right? You know?
Right.
But then Wood had a double-double. You know, Kmart and Gordon had double digits off the bench, and it came down to a last-second block, you know. I really think that the Houston Rockets are a little bit better than folks think. And
you know what? I think it goes back to that saying, it's not what you do, but how you do it. And so, like, even though you're losing in that, it's how you play in those games. And so there's been a lot of things that I've seen within San Antonio that I was like, man, it was a close game. We played way better than I thought that we would have, or even better than I thought that we played last year, even though we took the L. So even though that, you know, you're taking that loss, it's not always everything negative about that.
Yeah, it's not everything negative at all. But at the same time, I mean, it's sport. Moral victories ain't gonna get you the ring.
Absolutely. No, absolutely right. So coming up this week, you guys are going to be playing the Pistons on Wednesday, which is another extremely young team that is actually starting to come up a little bit. And we've seen the premiere of Cade Cunningham, who we didn't see him in the first few games. We did see him last week. So what do you think you guys need to do in order to win that game?
Go out there and play Rockets basketball for 48 minutes. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, you can't just play like 40 and then like think that that's it. You know,
right.
you gotta close the door. You gotta finish out. These boys are more talented than what people think, you know. And I mean, we're 1-8, but if you really sit back and think about it, we could be 4-5. We could be 5-4.
Right.
You know, and it would be disappointing if the Rockets went on like a massive surge and we finished like a game or two out of the playoffs. And now we're thinking back to the games we could have won. I know it's the beginning of the season. You're going to say it's the beginning of the season. Oh, it's just the beginning of the season, you know.
Right.
Tell that to the team that finished a game or two out of the playoffs in years past.
Right.
Now, first week or two, it's just the beginning.
Yeah,
you know?
and that was basically us last year. You know what I mean? We played one game in the play-in tournament. It was a close game. And we ended up not being in the playoffs. So absolutely, you go back to that and you think, dang, if we would have won just that stretch that we had lost right there, we'd be in the playoffs right now and contending. So absolutely. After that game against the Pistons, you guys follow up on Friday. You play the Trailblazers. You will be in Houston for that game. And then again, another home game. You will play the Suns on Sunday and then finish out your week with Memphis on Monday. What do you think you guys need to do, especially against the Memphis game? Suns are going to be the Suns. We already know what to expect out of them. They didn't make a whole lot of roster adjustments, and they went far into the postseason. So I think a lot of teams have kind of figured out the Suns. Whether you are victorious or not, you know what you're going to be dealing with. But Memphis is a team that's crawling up there. Now we know Ja Morant is going to do him, but they made some adjustments to their lineup in the off season. So what do you think you need to do in order to win that game?
Shoot. Rockets basketball. Keep Morant's gonna get his, you know, because he's Morant.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But Houston, that's gonna be a tough one. I actually have us probably dropping that game, but if we can get another double-double out of Wood, if Green can keep his going, and notice these guys are coming off the bench with double figures, with double digits.
Right.
You know, so if we can do that, we can still win against Memphis. I'll go as far as saying we can still win against the Suns because the other night we kept it close until the last 5 minutes and then they pulled away. That was on the road.
Right, you know? And so you'll be at home.
Exactly, and I think now Silas knows what he needs to do as far as like finish it out against the Suns. So we'll probably drop the one to Memphis in a close one. But the Suns, I believe we beat the Suns this weekend.
Okay. And then one last question before you go. We heard KD comment about Scotty Barnes over there in Toronto and that how impressed he was with him. And so there's probably some rookie of the year talk going on with him over there. I want to say, though, what do you think about your rookie? Like, I think your rookie is somebody that is putting up major points, like super high-powered shooting.
He's putting up major points, and it's crazy because very rarely do you get the combination of the flashy new toy that can produce.
Right.
You know, some cats come in and all flashy, they got the dunks and everything, okay, cool and everything. But Jalen Green is actually producing.
And do you think him playing in the G League is that difference maker there?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. You know, and this is going to be the new wave of things. Because before it used to be, well, if you were good enough to come out of high school and go right to the pros and then produce, then that's what you could do, you know. But
right.
Nowadays, you look at the G League and these guys can start making a little money now.
Right.
You know, so they're gonna go there. They may go straight there from high school and do whatever they need to do and get ready for the main roster. They may go one. I still think that some of them should at least do a year of college. You know, because. Mm-hmm. The pro league is a totally different animal. You need to get as much experience as you can to get ready for it. Because how many have we seen in the past that were studs in college and were a bust in the pros?
Quite a few.
Get
absolutely.
Your experience.
Right,
especially
absolutely.
Now that you can get your pre-experience and make a little bit of money. Get your pre-experience. Then come to the main roster.
True. And I do think that makes a difference that you're able to make some money off your name and your likeness in college now. So that'll definitely change things over the next few years. All right, Jay, Good luck on your games this week. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we'll see you back next week.
All right. Well, you can find me here on the NBA Carousel every Monday night, hosted by Megan Price and produced by J.D. Ellis. Shout out to him for having me on. Also, you can find me on Tuesday nights going on at 9:30, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's the Sports Gauntlet. That is co-hosted by James Tatum, Tyler Ingram, myself, and Dom DeRobay. Also, I'm on Roku with Visual Dramatics. I just got tasked with covering the Houston Heat in the Women's National Football Conference. So their league is starting up in the spring, and now we're just because trials just got held. So we're gonna go on hold interviews with the players and everything. So be on the lookout that on YouTube and on Roku as well. The person that is actually interviewing along with me is a defensive. She was all pro in that league, defensive tackle for the Houston Heat. I follow on Instagram. Awesome individual. So be on the lookout for that. Shout out Marshall Hill. Shout out Craig Davis, my Unconventional Kings fam. Also catch me on the Sip Off on Thursday. I'm coming back on. So I'm going to be there and I'm going to be ready.
Thanks, Jay. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me on. Y'all be easy.
Absolutely. Friendly reminder, guys, the NBA Carousel is a Sideline Sports Network production, proudly sponsored by Score No Score app, available for download on Apple and Google Play Store. There's a demo on how to use the app on Sideline Sports YouTube channel. All right, let's go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Cool McCain covering the champions, the Milwaukee Bucks.
Champs are still here for now.
Okay.
Got to do better this week, though. Got to do better.
So it was an interesting week for you guys over the last week.
Yeah, very interesting. 2 losses, and 1 win over Detroit. But hey, you take the wins where you can get them these days.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing. Giannis is being Giannis. Giannis is, working on developing his outside game. So he's been better at, the mid-range of shooting. He's hitting a lot more free throws. Right now, Grayson Allen is the second scorer. That needs to be Chris Middleton, but obviously he's got to get back on the court for that to happen. Right. Jordan Nwora has stepped up and, played some good minutes for us in relief, kind of try to help cover, what we're missing. We do have, we've finally gotten some of the pieces back, right? So that's helping out, but we still don't have Chris Middleton. We still don't have Brook Lopez. We have gotten back Drew Holiday. He just came back a few games ago, so he's still kind of, getting into basketball shape. But there's enough there to win. But I've seen one of the issues is decision making. So when you don't have Drew in the game a lot, you don't have Chris in the game a lot, you've got guys that have a different level of basketball IQ. Saw a play the other day. Grayson Allen goes to the hole. in the first loss and takes a shot, a hard contested layup when it should have just been a dump off to a teammate streaking down for an easy basket that would have actually put the Bucks up and possibly changed the outcome of that game. So just those small plays in the game, guys without the same basketball IQ or the same thought process are kind of making some of those plays that you would actually see Chris Middleton or Drew Holiday make. So that's making a difference, in the game. Bobby Portis is back. He's playing some minutes at center, so that's been helpful as well. So you're seeing the game kind of get a little closer, but you're still not seeing a lot of wins. Wins have to happen. Obviously, they're needed. This is a team that's expected to at least, go deep in the playoffs. So you got to get back on track. 4-6 is not the start that you want. But when you look at the injuries to some of the main pieces, you got to realize it just can't always be what you want it to be starting out. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So, this is going to have to turn it around. Giannis is going to keep having to be that guy that's giving you 28 to somewhere around 32, 33 a game. You're going to need Holiday to up his production. That's questionable. We know in Spurs he can, but we haven't really seen Drew Holiday be a 20-point a game scorer throughout the season. But we need that from him until we can get Chris Middleton back. Middleton's really the closer. So without having Middleton, you're asking other guys to adjust to a role that they normally don't do. But again, you still need more than one closer. Other guys have got to step up a little more. Giannis is doing what he can, but he needs the help. Guys are starting to kind of figure out, maybe I need to do this, maybe I need to do that. We're starting to get some of the guys playing better defense. Allen has been a little disappointed on the defensive end so far. Still early, though, but he's been a little disappointing for us defensively so far. So, some things to work on, some cracks in the armor, some chinks, but it can be ironed out.
I'm going to be honest. I've never been much of a Grayson Allen fan. I do like an emotional player. I like to see that they care. I don't like to see someone who takes advantage of that. And so I think I saw that out of him as a college player. And then when he came into the NBA, I just haven't really seen him come to fruition yet. Now, one of the games that I thought was really interesting was the game that you played last night against the Wizards. This is an interesting team. They have added Dinwiddie to their roster. And we're starting to see them actually, and they added Kyle Kuzma and Caldwell Pope as well. And this is probably
Montrezl Harrell.
And Montrezl Harrell, you're right.
Yeah.
And so this is probably Kuzma's best game with the Wizards so far. He had 15 points and 10 rebounds. What do you think happened in that game?
Well, you look at guys like Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, those guys. Spencer Dinwiddie, is a really good player. So you're getting a lot of guys together and you're just saying, hey, we're going to put you out there together. We're going to let you play. And they're adapting to each other's skills. They have most of their complement of players. Bill had a great game that night, 30 points. You get, like you said, 15 out of Kyle Kuzma. You get another 11 out of their center, Dan Gafford, I believe is his name. So you have a lot of guys. And then Harold, of course, is a sixth man coming in doing his thing. So you have a lot of guys that, we're putting in buckets, right? And then when you have the other side, you have a team that's kind of struggling to get everybody out there. They stayed in the game, not a blowout by any means, but Washington definitely looked like the better team that night. They probably were, again, without Middleton and Lopez, two major pieces.
Right.
We, still missing DiVincenzo as well. So three major pieces for Milwaukee still out. But again, no one's going to cry for Milwaukee. They're the reigning champs. No one's going to say, oh, poor Milwaukee. You don't have all your players.
Yeah,
since you don't have all your players, it's okay. No, you still got to win games. And like I said, it's got to be a better week. Got to be more concentrated. We need everybody to give a little bit more effort. Everybody needs to put in a couple more buckets. And everybody needs to make one or two more plays on defense. And we're looking at a different situation. So as of now, this is what we have. You got to work with it, and guys have to step up.
Most definitely. You guys play the Sixers tomorrow. Then you double back play the Knicks again, which you lost to last week. And then you on Wednesday. And then you play the Celtics on Friday, Hawks on Sunday. So really tough schedule over the next week. Are we going to be seeing Chris Middleton anytime soon? Are we going to be seeing Brook Lopez anytime soon? Are we going to have to see you guys try and defeat these teams with the roster you have at the moment?
As of right now, no return to either one of those guys or DiVincenzo. So we're not going to have those guys. So it's going to be who we have. New York is a winnable game. We lost that game really because they lost contained defensively on Derrick Rose and kind of allowed him to do what he wanted to do. It's got to be better at staying in front of him and making him take some shots that he's less uncomfortable with. You can't let him have wide open shots. You can't let him have teardrop floaters. Those are things that he loves to do. So take
Right.
some of the things away that he likes to do and make him do some of the things that he's less comfortable with. Turn him into a 3-point shooter. Make him make contested shots. That's what we need to do to him. Obviously, Julius Randle was difficult for us. Giannis is going to have to take the responsibility of saying, I'm the best defensive big man in this game. I've got to take him, and I've got to play him. Every night, Giannis is going to have to take it. There's not a Lopez to kind of take that load off of him a little bit right now. So you're going to have to go out and score 30. You're going to have to go out and get 10-plus rebounds. You're going to have to get 5-plus assists, and you're going to have to guard the most difficult big man on the other team, Giannis. If you want to win games, that's what you're going to have to do for now. Once you get your full complement, you're able to switch it out. But for now, it's got to be you. It's got to be all you. You got to show why you're a multiple-time MVP, Finals MVP, and a reigning champ. This is your time to show everybody I can do it. And this is the time he's got to step up.
Absolutely. And I also think that you guys are going to just absolutely, and we've talked about this a couple of times, absolutely going to have to start addressing the fact of who is going to come off the bench and fill in for Brook Lopez. He's getting older. And even while he's injured, he has not necessarily lost a step, but you're going to have to start thinking about the future just because he's aging. So that's something that I would like to see you guys possibly address before the trade deadline, if possible. It's obviously not going to be a problem for you guys this season, but just season's coming up. It's going to be something that I would like to see y'all have that solid rotation coming off the bench, knowing it's okay if Brook Lopez is out this game. We got somebody else, and Giannis is going to be able to do Giannis.
Well, here's the thing. I think it should have been addressed last offseason. We talked about this last year. I think it should have been addressed last offseason. So it's a little concerning that you went into the season. I guess the assumption is Bobby Portis is going to be that guy, but he's really like the hybrid. He backs up Giannis as well as the center position. Right. You really need another guy that strictly backs up the center. And then Portis as that guy in situations like this. He still can come in for Giannis or he can come in for whoever's playing center. But they need a young guy to develop. He doesn't have to have much of an offensive game, but just a young guy who can play defense, run the floor, someone whose skill level, obviously won't be this player, but a skill level like James Wiseman at this time. Just a young guy who can get up and down the floor, block shots, make the easy layups, the easy shots around the rim, and just, protect the rim and just get out and take some of those minutes off because we don't know at this point when Lopez is going to come back.
Right.
So it's something that you need.
It's just something that you have to have in your mind frame when you got somebody that's 32 plus on your team. It's just facts of how it is. Well, thank you so much, Cool. Good luck on your games this week, and go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you.
For sure, we got to win at least 2 of those. So I'm looking at New York and Boston as the two most winnable of those. But we got to find a way to win at least 2 of those. We got to go at least 500. But you can find me, of course, here on the NBA Carousel. Thursday nights, often you can find me on the Sip Off, hosted by Megan as well as her co-host. You can find me on Friday nights at 7 p.m. right here on the Derby, playcallsportstalk.com, live interactive sports talk. You can follow me on Twitter at Cool McCain and also on Facebook, Cool McCain.
Thanks so much, Cool. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Tyler Ingram covering the Chicago Bulls. Hey,
what's up?
Tyler, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing really well. So let's talk about your Bulls. You guys came in really high-powered, winning a ton of games, and then you had a little bit of a slip over the last week. What are your thoughts on those games?
Well, I will say that it definitely was kind of like a hangover from Monday night, right? Like Monday night, we're trailing by 19 points. We end up winning that game by 14 points over Boston, have a huge fourth quarter. And then on Wednesday and Saturday night, we struggle against the Sixers. JoJo, he went out there. He had 30 points, 15 rebounds last night in that game. But it was Korkmaz, honestly. When I watched that game last night, it was Korkmaz that was making all the shots. He had 25.6 rebounds, so he was a problem for us. I've still been really impressed with how the Bulls are playing, especially with Patrick Williams down. So Patrick Williams is supposed to have a breakout year this year. He broke his wrist, so now we're trying to kind of figure out that small forward spot for us. Derek Jones coming off the bench. He's been getting more minutes. Ayo Dosunmu, he was the rookie that we drafted from Illinois. He's getting more minutes. I like how he's playing. We're trailing right now 55-47 to Brooklyn. But I think they've been kind of hanging in there like sharks. So we're going to see how that goes. That's going to be a 4-quarter basketball game tonight.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing there in the second quarter, you guys there's like 30 seconds left in the second quarter. And Brooklyn put up 28 points and you guys put up 12. So that's something that cannot happen in the third or the fourth quarter.
And Aldridge has like 15 points off the bench in like 12 minutes.
He's such an excellent fit for Brooklyn coming off the bench.
Yeah.
And, some people always took my criticism of him as that I didn't like him. I just felt like his time as a starting player had come to an end and it was time to switch over to a role player. And it seems to be just an excellent, excellent fit for Brooklyn. So, congratulations to him and being able to even come back, because we saw him possibly have to retire last year because of health issues. And then he ended up coming back and he looks excellent. So congrats to him on that. What do you think is going to be the team to beat in the East? Because it's looking like the East is so competitive this season.
Yeah. To me personally, I think it's Miami. I've been really impressed with what Miami's doing, and Eric Spoelstra gets those guys to play defense, unlike the Chicago Bulls. Unfortunately, as you know, you had DeMar DeRozan on your team too. Fantastic offensive player. Love the guy. Love having him on my team. But the Bulls don't play defense. The Bulls want to get out there and they want to run with teams, and they want to get into these high-scoring affairs. And what I see what Miami can do is Miami can kind of win a multiple different ways. They can win. They can score a bunch of, get hot, have Tyler Hero spazzing, Jimmy Bucket spazzing, but then they can also play defense and have like a rim protector with Bam, Adebayo. Like, I really do like that Miami Heat team. I think they're the strongest in the East right now.
And I really didn't know if Kyle Lowry was going to be the right fit for them. And, I didn't take into consideration that him and Buckets are such good friends. So that definitely makes a difference. When you're having fun on court, you're playing with one of your friends, that can make a difference, definitely.
Right.
So.
And Spoelstra, I don't think a lot of us, I know we all think Eric Spoelstra is a good coach. I'm not saying we don't think that, but every year I am almost reminded from him why he's such a good coach.
Right.
He's so good with rotations. He's so good with specialists. Like, if he needs to have a guy come off the bench and be a microwave and make some shots, if he needs a guy to come out there and play rim protection, he'll put Bam down there in the box. Like, I'm really impressed with Eric Spoelstra. He's a hell of a coach.
Yeah, completely agree. And, going back to DeMar, that is something that, like you said, I had him on my team, so I know, just excellent, excellent shooter, but you're not going to get defense out of him. But another place that I think that you guys are actually lacking on the defense is a part of that trade is you guys gave us Thaddeus Young, and Thaddeus Young was a defensive player for you guys as well.
Right. Yeah, and when that happened, I remember you and me discussed it, and I said, well, I'm going to miss Thaddeus Young because Thaddeus Young plays hard, So, you look at us, and it's like, the best defensive players on this team, is probably Alex Caruso coming off the bench. He's the one that is playing both ways for the full time, hustling after, diving on loose balls. I will say, though, this rookie getting more minutes, the Tsunamo getting more minutes is good for the Bulls because him and Derek Jones, they weren't getting so many minutes early in the year. And then when Patrick Williams went down, now they're increasing their load more. So I think, and granted, Aya is going to have to, kind of get adjusted. This is his rookie season. But as the season goes on, I think you're going to start seeing him, why he was such a great selection for the Bulls in the second round.
Absolutely. So you guys are playing the Nets right now. And then Wednesday you play the Mavericks. Friday you play the Warriors. And then Sunday you play the Clippers. Monday, the Lakers. So a tough little stretch right there. I think, honestly, probably your easiest game is going to be the Lakers. And that's still somewhat of a tough game because you never know what Lakers you're going to get or what rotation is actually going to work for them at the time.
Yeah.
And then the Mavericks, we saw Luka hit a game-winning buzzer beater shot the other night. So, he's starting to fire up a little bit too. What do you think is going to be the toughest game this week?
I still think it's the Warriors, especially because this is why I'll say it, is that Lonzo Ball is going to get tested by Luka. They're going to put him on him, and he's going to get exhausted. But that is so hard to turn around after playing Luka and then having to go against Steph Curry.
Right.
So I am worried about that game. I could see Steph just going berserk in that game, maybe even get 40 in that game. But I expect both those games to be super high scoring. So the Bulls are just going to have to make shots. They're going to have their bench is going to have to step up. Derek Jones is going to have to step up. Alex Caruso is going to have to step up. Io DeSunema is going to have to step up. It's going to have to be a team effort to beat those teams because those teams are deep.
Absolutely. Well, good luck on your games this week. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we will see you back next week.
Absolutely. You guys can catch me on the Gauntlet tomorrow night, hosted by James Tatum, my man Dom, who's going to be on here next, and my man Jay Nelson, who was just on here a little bit ago. You guys can catch me on Thursday on the Sip Off, hosted by Megan Price, of course. And then you guys can also catch me on the NFL Carousel. We're going to take this Thursday off for Veterans Day, but you guys can catch us next week on that. I appreciate Megan having me, JB Ellis with producing the show, and inspired by Alex Fleming, of course. Peace out.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tyler. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next guest. We have Detroit Dom covering the Pistons. Hey, Dom.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. My team, not so much.
Oh, why do you say that?
Look at our record.
Well, but you guys are such a young team, and I think that you're still developing, and there's been some games that are really close. And so, like I was telling Jay about the Rockets, sometimes it's not always about what you do, it's how you do it. And so you may be losing, but in the fashion in which you're losing, you're not getting blown out like that.
Actually, we've been
Besides
blown out.
Milwaukee. Milwaukee was a bit of a blowout.
We've been blown out like 4 or 5 times already this year, and we only got blown out like 8 times last year. It's been bad. It's hard to watch. It's granted, the whole team, literally all season long, they're on like a cold shooting streak, and no way this lasts.
Right.
But I think part of the problem is the problem that I addressed as soon as we drafted Cade Cunningham, which was drafting a player number 1 overall and then putting him out of position. What I see is Cade standing in the corner, just kind of like, what do I do?
Right.
Why don't I have the ball? Shouldn't I be running this offense? Like I said, the shooting is a problem. They obviously haven't figured out the rotations yet. It's tough. I expected us to lose a lot of games, but it's actually been a little worse than I thought, but better days ahead, hopefully. I keep hearing that Ben Simmons trade rumor popping up, and I'm actually starting to warm up to it a little bit.
And so you would like the idea of having Ben Simmons there?
I mean, actually, I'm not sure because he needs the ball in his hands as well. Obviously, he's not a shooter, but then you're basically giving up assets to get another guy that can't shoot, and shooting is one of our problems right now. I mean, you hear pundits talk about, oh, the Pistons could surround him with enough scores, and it's like, yeah, we could, but at this point in his career, he's damaged goods.
Mm-hmm.
B, he's a liability on offense. Like, if it means getting Jeremy Grant out of town, I'm all for it, but it's going to cost a lot more than just Jeremy Grant and, one number 1 pick, because Philly is refusing to sell low on him. And if that's the case, then I don't want to do it.
Right. And we saw in this game, you guys played against Brooklyn on Friday. We saw you brought up Grant, who made a push for most improved player last year. And he ended up in that game having 5 points. What do you think is going on with him? Was this a fluke, or is he struggling so far this season?
I mean, I'm pretty sure we talked about this last year. I was never sold on Jeremy Grant. Last year, I mean, was he improved from a standpoint of scoring? Sure. But I was never sold on him. People that were like, oh, he was an all-star snub. No, he was the number one option on offense on a bad team. All it meant was he was getting the most field goal attempts. And honestly, he played a little bit over his head. And it wasn't just field goal attempts. He had a really good year last year, but that's not something he's capable of on a night in, night out basis. And I think, the film is out on him and people have figured him out. And you can see it in his dip in scoring average. I mean, he didn't make a single shot. 39 minutes against Brooklyn. 0 for 9 from the field, 0 for 4 from deep. Granted, like I said, the shooting is an aberration, but he's just not that good. And when they wanted to trade, when there was rumors out there at the trade deadline last year that people were interested in talking about a first-round pick, I was like, sell now.
Right. Right. Well, you guys have the Rockets coming up, which could be a winnable game for you guys. Then you have the Cavaliers, who are interesting at the moment, but I think that it will die off soon. I don't think that they will continue with that same energy. Then you have the Raptors on Saturday and then the Kings on Monday. Personally, I feel like the Kings are probably your toughest game out of this next week, but the Rockets are going to be a tough game too. Which game are you most concerned about?
Most concerned, I would actually maybe say the Cavs. I agree with you that they are probably not as good as their record indicates, but they kind of had our number last year, so that's probably a loss. We could probably hang with the Raptors. The Kings, I haven't seen too much of them. I know they're a couple games above 500. They're definitely in the playoff picture. I'm looking forward to the game against the Rockets because it's a matchup between Cade and Jalen Green. Because
Agreed.
all of the fans around here, after 2 games, they're ready to crucify Cade. We should have drafted Jalen. I'm like, man, it's 2 games. And granted, he came out to a very slow start, and he's still trying to find his way in the league. And like I said, he's playing out of position. So
okay, and so we've talked about some of the negatives and some of the problems that need to be addressed. Let's talk about what's the positive you see so far this year compared to last year.
I can't say it's necessarily been a change, but I like the continued effort from Isaiah Stewart. That dude is a dog. He goes out and plays hard. He's definitely a bad boy. He almost got in a fist fight with Blake Griffin the other night, which I absolutely loved.
Right. Well, we don't like Blake Griffin, so we love that thought.
I've actually been a little bit surprised and slightly impressed with Kelly Olynyk. Because I
like him. I thought he did well in Miami, and then when he got traded to Houston last year, he was one of their top performers.
Yeah, he's a pretty good player. I wasn't super hype on the signing. I liked Mason Plumlee better, but Olynyk's filled in.
I would not
nicely.
choose a Plumlee over Olynyk.
Well, let's just wait till the end of the year, and we'll see how many triple doubles Kelly Olynyk has.
Okay. All right, Dom. Well, good luck on your games this week. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we will see you back.
Cool. Sounds good. You can find me on Tuesdays around 9:30, 10 p.m. on the Gauntlet, hosted by James Tatum, myself, Tyler Ingram, Jay Nelson. Mondays right here on occasion, at least, on the Carousel, hosted by you. Thursdays, the Sip Off, also hosted by you and Jahan. And my boy, Anthony Brown. Why did I draw a blank on his name? That's foolish. He's one of my friends. And then Fridays, the exercise in, stupidity. We do We Are Lions Nation podcast, 7 p.m. on Fridays.
Oh, yeah, that sounds fun. Thanks, Dom. We will see you back soon.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our last rep. We have Jacob Kristner covering the Kings.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going really well. How are you?
Not bad. You were asking who was going to be the toughest part of Houston and Detroit this week. I say it's the fans. They're going to have the toughest problem with this one.
Yeah.
Those are 2 horrible teams.
Indeed.
Where's your Spurs shirt, by the way? I thought that was your uniform for this place.
It is most days, but I do change it up some. So I'm going ahead and I'm in my 806 sports shirt. So
no. You just need a Spurs shirt with that little of a logo.
Yeah, no, I don't have any of them. They're all huge. Spurs.
Well, you kind of need it right now considering what their record is.
Yeah, indeed. We are in the middle of a retool and trying to figure out exactly who we are. And so at the moment, we're at the bottom of the West, and that's just kind of what it is. But you guys are actually trending up. What rank are y'all at right now? Y'all are in 8th. Oh, that's interesting.
8th. So there's at least – see, here's the funny thing. We used to say 8th for playoff. Now it's like 7, 8, 9, 10. It's a little different.
Yeah.
But it's like, so people are trying to go for 6, but I think they'll take 8th right now. It's like when you look at the records and you see them ahead of the Lakers and they're ahead of the Spurs, and it's like different world now. You know what I'm saying?
Right, definitely. Well, I could imagine that I would have been able to predict that you guys would be ahead of the Spurs, but ahead of the Lakers probably has some people going, what is going on in LA?
Well, the problem is, it's just the fact that you have too many fans that keep thinking they think it's a video game. They think it's their fantasy. Oh, put all three of these together, and it's like you have to make some kind of chemistry regardless. It's like the dream team. Everybody looks to the original dream team as that. It's like they had chemistry. They also worked on it. They also lost to a college team before they got to that. You have to build chemistry first. They might get hotter, but like you just have to build it.
Absolutely. So you guys played the Jazz last Tuesday, and it was a very close game, but the Jazz ended up coming on top 119 to 113. Then you came around, beat the Pelicans 112 to 99, and then you blew the Hornets out on Friday 140 to 110. I know that put a smile on your face. And definitely. And
the Pelicans are the ones that you usually think would be 140. It's like
Oh, indeed. Indeed.
Yeah, that defense. Yeah. No, I'll tell you this. What I see with Sacramento right now, it's a good spread out amount of scoring. Good spread amount of scoring. You got 22 from Harrison Barnes, 18 from De'Aaron Fox, five players in double figures. Got a nice spread out scoring. The whole thing that I have an issue with right now is only a couple of people are rebounding. Only a couple of people are really passing the ball. And you brought up Ben Simmons a little bit. I'm starting to warm up with the idea of Ben Simmons, because they really don't have they have one guy with 6, one guy with 5.3 assists, but they need a distributor. They need a distributor because you have 5 guys that are scoring.
Right, yeah. Scoring's not an issue for you guys, but definitely defense or distribution of the ball. Absolutely. Ben Simmons might be a nice fit over there, actually. I always thought that he was going to have to be interchangeable with a player similar to him, such as Draymond Green, maybe PJ Tucker. All of those are excellent defensive players, and not always definitely not your top scorers, but able to get up at least a few points up there. And to me, that makes a difference. Definitely want to see them do something on both sides of the ball. Yeah. So I thought Warriors was probably the best fit for Simmons, but I think he could be a pretty decent fit over there in Sacramento.
Well, I was thinking, remember I told you that one of the first weeks that it's like they're going to want a star level. He's going to want a star team, and we don't know where they're going to go with Sacramento, if it's going to get moved 3 years from now, whatever.
Right, yeah.
But now I start to look at this, and you're 5-5. You've got a lot of scoring. You got spread out. They're spreading out the scoring well. Everything. No one's 28 to 30, but one's got 22, but one's got 18, one's got 16. They're doing well on that. But it's like you got to remember, Ben Simmons 6'10".
Right.
He's 6'10", and he just got handles, and he can pick up some rebounds. And it's like they need some people over that side. You know what I'm saying? And plus the fact Marvin Bagley's about 10 minutes a game. He can be gone. So it's he can be gone. So it's like you need to be able to replace, even though he's not really a replacement guaranteed. I'm talking about by a warm body, and that's skills. And it's like really, if they're going to keep on winning, they're going to have to start spreading the ball, not just scoring, but like passing around more. They got to get more rebounds. And it's like, because you're going to face the Nets as much as they're not going to win a title. You're going to face the Bulls. You're going to face Philadelphia. You're going to face those teams, and these teams are just loaded.
Right. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Coming up this week, you guys play the Suns tonight. Then you have my Spurs on Wednesday, the Thunder on Friday, and Pistons on Monday. So obviously, probably your toughest game is going to be the Suns. What do you think you guys need to do in order to win that game? Because you guys have beat them once.
Well, you got the Suns and then 3 bye weeks. No, if you're talking no, really, it's to get these bigger teams. And I'm thinking about the Suns. I'm thinking about how long do they have before they start to collapse, because we got the Sarver deal going on. We got the Sarver deal going on, and it's like, now I ask you, now we're going game by game, in truth, with the Suns. Because right now I'd say fine. But even if they were undefeated, I'd be saying fine, because it's like, really, overall, here's my thing. Number one, they're not going to have, until Sarver's gone, they're not going to have big-time free agents. How do we know some of the players they do have aren't going to quit?
True.
And how do we know any of that kind of stuff? And it's like, those are the things I think about. So Sacramento could sneak in and take those, and then you have the other 3. And you have the other 3, I said, bye weeks. And it's like, really, the biggest issue And here's the thing, though. I joke with bye week. The Detroit game, to me, is one of the trap games that you can really have because Detroit's getting ready to start. They're starting to get rid of as much as I joke. Who knows when Kate Cunningham comes out?
Right. Yeah. I agree.
Knows comes against the guy. I mean, Dom's absolutely correct. He is. I mean, he's in a wrong position and he's struggling so far. Really, he doesn't need to be jacking up threes all the time. I mean, it doesn't need to be doing the thing in the first place. You know, it's like. I don't want people jacking up threes all the time to begin with. You know, but it's like what I say all the time. And look at his numbers so far. It's just really he needs to start out. He needs to kind of start out spreading the ball and going off ball. It's like you just get under. To me, I'm saying get off the basket. You just get underneath the basket. A lot of people. That's old school.
Right.
To a lot of people, it's old school. But you got to get some easy buckets. And
Indeed.
I think that's going to break. The slump is if he just started if they run some old school, old school pick and roll, which in this day and age, what is this crap?
Right.
Everything's jacking up a three. Everything is standing on watch him do handles. But everybody's like that. But it's like I think a thing of old school ball would help him if he did some cuts, get some easy buckets underneath. Then he can. It's kind of like the little sort of exercise that you see shooters. They start underneath the basket, then you back up, then you back up. It might help him. It might help him keep building up, get some confidence.
And I think that's something that's going to fall on coaching over there. And it's something that Pop does all the time. It's part of that systematic ball that, you take the two because it's guaranteed compared to the three all the time. And even though the game has evolved, that's something that could benefit Cade for sure. Well, good luck on your games this week. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you.
Well, I was talking. Let me mind if I say real quick about the business side. I was looking up. One of the things I was looking up lately about Sacramento is how much they love crypto and their blockchain. Right. I was reading up into it more over the week, and it is like the reason they got into crypto so much. Randa Dive, the owner, is because they've been into it since 2014 already. With because they took some stock within blockchain, within crypto, excuse me. They got in, but then he found out that Russell Okung from the Seahawks took half of his bonus in crypto.
Interesting.
So started allowing his guys, anybody that wanted to take crypto could be able to do that. And now they've got Anchor, ANKR, by the way, if anybody's interested in blockchain. They got Anchor as it's right up on their it's as their sponsor. It's right up on their scoreboard. You can be able to use it, use your phone and be able to put it on the QR code. They have these little cards for spending. There's no cash anymore. They're doing everything. They're getting themselves into spending on Bitcoin now. Everything is going well. And I'm wondering how many teams in the league are going to start doing this soon. Because like I said, everything is just about cashless except the Chicago Bears, which at Soldier Field, they still have cash in certain areas still.
Right.
And everything else is starting to get cashless. It's like now it's becoming cashless and you can be able to do card. How long before everything goes Bitcoin and crypto?
Right.
And those are the things that interest me too. It's why I took the Kings to begin with.
Indeed. And so it's definitely moving past, like you said, cash in hand. Like that's not something that a lot of people are even doing anymore. So good for the Kings for jumping on board with that and start seeing into the future. And it might either keep them in Sacramento or it might elevate them to a different town and a different fan base. So that might be the basis of that. Well, thank you so much, Jacob. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you.
Well, right now you have me right now, right here every Monday night on on the Carousel. You have that. I'm on Tuesdays with the Snowman on the Snowman in the Morning, Brian Snow. I'm talking business on that. Okay. I just started my last show. I just started my show on Thursday, so I'm having my second show this Thursday. So and what I do is I basically do my own little Colin Coward, and I bring John Mizak on, and then some other guests for interviews. So I do. And then I've got my own little on the Ricochet. I've got my own little, and I got Ricochet and I've got Substack. So I write also. And then awesome. I'm Jacob Kristner on Facebook and on Twitter. I'm Pundits Pund 1. Pundits PUND 1. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Jacob.
Not a problem. Have a good night.
You too. All right, guys, I want to thank you for watching. And just a quick reminder, the NBA Carousel is a Sideline Sports Network production, proudly sponsored by Score, No Score app, available for download on Apple and Google Play Store. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.